Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you're here, if you're listening to a show like this one, it's probably safe to say you're past the beginner stage in your field.
Oh, way past it. You've done the work. You've mastered the core concepts. You've got the vocabulary down.
Exactly. You are, for all intents and purposes, an advanced learner. And that's where a really specific, kind of frustrating problem starts to creep in.
It's a strange kind of frustration, isn't it? It comes from success. You
Yeah.
realize that your own mind, the speed at which you can connect ideas and absorb new, specialized knowledge is just, well, it's running a lot faster than the world around you can keep up with.
That's it. That is the exact conflict we're digging into today from our sources. We're calling it the isolation of the advanced learner. You've climbed this mountain of knowledge, you get to the top, and you realize you're kind of alone up there.
Yeah, and the thing that's holding you back, the bottleneck, it isn't the material anymore. It's the conversation, or I should say the lack of conversation. You need someone to spar with, an intellectual peer who can go deep with you on, say, the nuances of NICU ethics or astrophysics.
Right, or monetary policy or AI governance.
Yeah.
And finding those people, I mean, it's incredibly difficult. And even if you find them, scheduling is a nightmare or they're prohibitively expensive.
And that's the barrier. This is the huge intellectual wall that just stalls out continuous learning for so many brilliant people. But the sources we've looked at propose a really fascinating solution. I mean, it's a fundamental shift in how we think about technology.
Okay.
We're looking at AI, but not as, a simple flashcard app or a grammar checker.
Right, not a toy.
Not at all. We're talking about AI as the core intellectual dialogue partner, a tool that is specifically built to break down that cognitive bottleneck we just talked about. It's a move from simple AI assistance to what you might call indispensable mentorship.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack how that partnership actually works. We've gone through sources detailing how advanced learners are using AI, specifically the really sophisticated voice-enabled tools, and it seems to break down into three really critical areas.
That's right. The first is what we're calling deep intellectual expansion. That's the part that tackles the cognitive barrier head on.
Okay, then the second is about immediate and really sophisticated linguistic precision,
Yeah.
getting the language just right.
And finally, the third piece is all about bridging that gap between the, perfect textbook English
Yeah.
and the messy, unpredictable language we all use in the real world.
So we're going to spend some serious time on this. We're going to unpack the specific roles AI is filling in each of these areas.
And it's so important to move past this idea that AI is just for correcting your verb tenses. I mean, we are really talking about a total transformation of the tool into a multifunctional intellectual mentor.
A mentor that can sustain these incredibly complex, domain-specific conversations that, let's be honest, no single human teacher could possibly keep up with across all these different fields.
Exactly.
That's a huge promise. All right, let's jump right into that first area because it feels like the biggest breakthrough here. Let's talk about AI as the specialized intellectual partner. So the dilemma for you, the advanced learner, is,
Yeah.
well, it's painfully clear. You've spent years, maybe decades, becoming an expert in a super specialized field.
Right. You're not just learning about finance. You're wrestling with the real-time dynamics of market-making algorithms.
Or you're not just reading philosophy. You're deep in post-Heideggerian thought. You're grappling with the limits of phenomenological reduction.
And the challenge, it isn't just about language. It's not about learning more vocabulary. You probably have most of the specialized words you need for your domain.
You know the jargon.
You absolutely know the jargon. The real problem is finding another human being who speaks English fluently and has the required depth in your very specific niche. Or, more likely, your multiple niches.
Because our sources point out that advanced learners are often, polymathic. They're into medicine and cognitive psychology and AI ethics all at once.
And just think about the traditional model. A language coach. No matter how great they are at teaching English, can they really debate you on the ethical framework for deep reinforcement learning in personalized medicine?
Probably not.
Can they push back on your argument about Keynesian economics in a post-quantitative easing world and do it with any real substance? It's just not realistic.
So that creates what the sources are calling a critical intellectual gap.
It's a huge gap. Your own cognitive depth, your specialized knowledge, it quickly outpaces your language partner's expertise. The conversation hits a wall of knowledge.
And it always happens right when things are getting interesting,
Right.
or right when the discussion could actually push you to grow.
Exactly. And you're left just kind of talking around your most complex ideas because you can't really dive into them. You can't articulate your highest level thoughts.
That's a really powerful point. It's not just about finding time to talk with someone. It's about the quality of the cognitive friction you get from them.
Cognitive friction. I like that. A good debate partner forces you to sharpen everything.
Right. If your partner doesn't understand the basic premises of your field, they can't ask the really tough questions. The questions that force you to explain a complex idea like order book depth with perfect clarity.
Precisely. And that's the frustration. It's this feeling of being intellectually stunted because you just don't have a sparring partner. The cost of that is huge.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've laid out the problem, the pain point. How exactly does AI fill this gap? How does it go beyond a simple Q&A bot?
Well, the sources point to its core function. It's engineered to be an AI English debate partner, one that is customized instantly and completely to your specific domain.
How does it do that?
Because the underlying model, the LLM, it's been trained on this.
Right.
This unbelievably vast corpus of specialized data. We're talking academic journals, technical manuals, regulatory filings, philosophical texts, everything.
So it doesn't have the same limits as a human expert.
Not at all. A human expert has maybe 1 or 2 deep specializations. The AI can pivot seamlessly. It can debate the physics of plasma confinement in a fusion reactor 1 minute.
And the next minute.
It can be discussing the foundations of moral realism from a philosophical standpoint. And it maintains that same intellectual rigor across both. It's always ready to meet you at your level.
So we're not just talking about casual practice here. This is built around a really structured routine the sources call topic-based deep speaking.
That's the central tool. It's about deep, focused intellectual expansion in your specific domain. It forces you, the learner, to articulate your most complicated ideas using precise language and structure because the AI understands them.
And the sources give some really high-level examples to show just how different this is from, standard conversation practice.
They do. These aren't simple hypotheticals. These are the actual questions advanced learners are using right now.
Okay, give us the specifics. What makes this so revolutionary?
All right, consider this example. Engaging the AI in a debate about the ethical dilemmas concerning life support decisions in the neonatal intensive care unit, NICU.
Wow. Okay. That is incredibly complex.
Think about the demands of that topic. You have to instantly pull up and use highly specialized medical terms, legal terms, ethical terms. You're forced to build arguments around concepts like prognostication, resource allocation, family autonomy.
The legal definition of futility. I mean, you're operating across multiple professional registers at once.
And the AI can challenge you on every single one of them. It can take on the role of a medical ethicist, for instance, and force you to defend your position.
How so? What would that look like in practice?
Well, the AI might corner you with a purely utilitarian argument. It could say, okay, defend your position, but you must do so by quantifying the greatest good. Weigh the long-term quality of life probabilities against the immediate suffering and resource cost.
That's the moral algebra of utilitarianism.
Exactly. And now you, the learner, have to respond. You have to use sophisticated English to build a counterargument. Maybe you pivot to a deontological view, a duty-bound perspective that says you have to prioritize the innate worth of this one individual life, regardless of the statistical outcomes.
I could just feel how hard that is. You don't just need the vocabulary, you need total command of syntax to build those complex philosophical arguments with all the necessary clauses and conditionals.
You really do.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second. A question a lot of listeners might have is, if the AI is just this infinitely knowledgeable, emotionless machine, can it really be a debate partner? Don't you need a partner with, genuine beliefs or personal stakes in the argument?
That's a fantastic question and a really important one. No, the AI is not replacing the human element of ethical debate. That absolutely relies on lived experience, on emotional conviction.
So what is its role then?
Its role is to be a perfect cognitive simulator. The goal isn't for the AI to convince you of something. The goal is for it to provide perfect, tireless resistance to your argument.
Oh, okay.
It can model different belief systems, different logical frameworks flawlessly. It forces you to verbally take apart the absolute strongest version of the opposing case. And that is precisely the skill you need to grow.
That reframes it perfectly. It's like an intellectual weightlifting session where the weight is always perfectly calibrated to your maximum effort.
Exactly. Or take the other big example from the sources. This one goes into philosophy and AI governance. The question is, debating whether AI can become a moral patient.
That's a deep dive. You're getting into consciousness studies, ethics.
All of it. You have to define sentience, agency, the capacity for suffering. You have to use precise philosophical terms like qualia or intentionality and build this incredibly tight, rigorous argument.
And the AI can just pivot and attack that argument from any angle.
Instantly. It could demand that you define the necessary and sufficient conditions for moral status, but only using, say, an experientialist framework. And suddenly you're forced to use very specific vocabulary and complex grammar to defend your point within those constraints. The value there is just exponential. The AI isn't just correcting your grammar. It's correcting the very structure of your high-level thinking while forcing you to use higher-level language to defend ideas most people have never even thought about.
And this whole routine is flexible. The sources say these sessions are often set up in cycles, so a learner might spend a week on global health ethics,
And the next week on?
cognitive psychology,
Yeah.
focusing on decision-making biases. Then they might move to classical economic theory, then AI architecture. It's constantly rotating based on their needs.
And the fatigue factor is just gone. A human partner would be exhausted.
Completely removed.
Yeah.
So what you get is sustained, profound intellectual discussion across an almost infinite range of topics. The cognitive limits are just gone because your dialogue partner is infinitely knowledgeable, infinitely adaptable, and maybe most importantly, it's always there, 24/7.
This partnership just fundamentally changes the learning curve. That intellectual frustration, that feeling of hitting a plateau because you can't find a sparring partner.
It's replaced by continuous acceleration, both linguistic and cognitive. Your intellect is finally free to run at its top speed.
Okay, so we've established AI as this incredible engine for intellectual depth. It can go toe-to-toe with you on NICU ethics. But
Yeah.
now I want to pivot to the other end of the spectrum because the AI isn't just this intellectual heavyweight.
No, it's also incredibly good at the microscopic level.
Exactly. The granular, immediate, sophisticated refinement of your language. It's a shift from supporting your big ideas to making sure every single word you use to express them is perfect.
And this is so vital for the advanced learner because you have the concepts, you have the vocabulary from those deep dive sessions we just talked about.
Right.
But you need to make sure those big, sophisticated thoughts are coming across not just accurately, but with a native level polish, with grace and efficiency.
And this is where the specific features in these modern AI speaking tools really shine. They give you real-time feedback that's just not possible with a human tutor.
Oh, not even close. We're talking about feedback that's instantaneous and incredibly detailed. The sources break down a few key mechanisms.
Like what?
First, real-time pronunciation feedback. You say a word wrong, you get an instant correction. No waiting for your weekly lesson.
Okay, that's huge for preventing bad habits from setting in.
That's the key. It stops fossilization where errors become permanent. Second, immediate correction of grammatical mistakes. Same principle. Fix it on the spot before it becomes a habit.
And the third one?
This one's more subtle, but just as important. Analysis of your speaking speed and intonation. This is about the music of the language. It helps you sound natural and engaging, not like a robot just reading correct sentences.
What's really fascinating here, and this speaks directly to the advanced learner, is that the correction goes way beyond just finding mistakes.
Yeah.
It's all about sophistication.
Yes. It's about taking a sentence that is already grammatically correct and polishing it, making it sound more fluid, more idiomatic, more professional. The AI will instantly flag an awkward expression or unnatural intonation.
It's the difference between being understood and being persuasive.
Absolutely. Advanced learners want to operate in high-stakes environments. They need that professional fluency. Which brings us to a really critical daily routine the sources highlight: expression refinement.
Okay, tell me about this routine. How does it work in practice?
It's very targeted and very proactive. The idea is that you, the learner, consciously pick out just 1 to 3 sentences or phrases from your day that felt clunky.
So something you said in one of those deep speaking sessions or maybe in a real meeting that just didn't land right.
Exactly. You identify your own weak spots, then you feed those specific awkward phrases into the AI. And the goal you give the AI is very specific. Refine this into a native style expression, one that keeps the high-level meaning but gets rid of all the linguistic friction.
That feels like a surgical approach to self-correction. It's acknowledging that an advanced speaker's errors are usually subtle. They're not getting verb tenses wrong. It's more about awkward syntax that comes from, thinking in their native language.
And this is where we have to get really forensic and look at the specific case study in the sources because it just perfectly illustrates this power to elevate your syntax.
Okay, let's break that case study down.
So the learner provides this awkward phrase. It's understandable, but it just sounds heavy. The phrase is, AI has agency depends on context.
Right. I know what they mean. The idea is that AI's agency is contingent on the context, but the sentence itself is clunky. It feels like two ideas slammed together.
It does. It lacks that professional flow. So the AI, acting as this precision editor, instantly transforms it. The refined version is, whether AI has agency depends on the context.
Wow. Okay, that is so much better. Let's dig into the mechanics of that. Why is that version so much more effective? For the listener, what's the lesson there?
Well, the biggest and most obvious change is the word whether.
Right.
By adding that one word, that subordinating conjunction, the AI does something really powerful. It takes the entire phrase, whether AI has agency, and turns it into something called a nominal clause.
And that nominal clause can then act as the subject of the sentence.
It functions perfectly as the subject. The original version was just. It was grammatically confused. It was trying to use a statement as a subject without the right grammatical signpost. The AI builds the proper scaffolding.
So it adds both clarity and, I guess, density.
Exactly, that's the word. It's a technique called nominalization packaging, a big, complex idea into a single, compact, noun-like thing, and that is the absolute hallmark of sophisticated academic and professional speech.
And that one tiny change just elevates the entire thought. You go from sounding like a smart person struggling with English to sounding like a fluent professional communicator.
And the most important part is that this feedback loop is instant. The learner sees their awkward output right next to the gold standard version. They can immediately see why it's better and internalize that more sophisticated structure.
Let me push back here a little bit. Is there a risk that this constant correction, this push towards a native style, could kind of sterilize the learner's own unique voice? Is the AI just optimizing for grammatical efficiency over, human nuance?
That's a crucial question. And the answer really depends on how you use the tool. If you just ask for a professional journal style, yeah, you're going to get something very formal and efficient.
But you can be more specific.
You can. And the AI will often give you options. It might offer the super formal version, but also a slightly warmer, more conversational version, and maybe a very concise journalistic take. The learner, who is already advanced, still has the agency to choose the style that fits their personality and the context.
So the AI isn't a dictator, it's more like a coach showing you the possibilities.
It provides the polished options, and in doing so, it trains your ear. It helps you develop that internal feel for high-level idiomatic expression without forcing you into a single mold.
That makes a lot of sense. So this function is really the ultimate editing layer for your most complex thoughts. It ensures you have the intellectual depth from section 1 and now the professional polish to deliver those ideas effectively.
You're no longer intellectually isolated, and your expression is no longer awkwardly held back. You can finally articulate your best arguments with the structural elegance they deserve.
Okay, so we've covered intellectual depth and we've covered microscopic linguistic precision. But there's a third, really critical area where even the most advanced learners can stumble. And it's kind of ironic because it's their success in mastering formal academic English that creates the problem.
Ah, yes, the advanced learner's blind spot.
Exactly. It's this great linguistic irony. A learner can spend years studying academic papers. They can give a flawless presentation on macroeconomic theory.
And then they step out of the lecture hall and into a casual lunch with colleagues.
And their comprehension just plummets. They're suddenly lost. And it's because they've just been hit with real-world English.
The sources are really clear on this gap. And it's not about grammar, it's about acoustic and social processing. This gap is caused by three things that are almost never in standard textbooks.
What are they?
First, the constant heavy use of contractions and abbreviations, not just don't or can't. We're talking about how did you eat yet becomes jeet yet, or I would have becomes I'ved out.
The sounds literally get compressed and mashed together.
Drastically. Second, there's the rapid-fire use of slang and idiomatic expressions that change all the time. They're regional, they're generational. They carry huge amounts of cultural meaning.
And the third piece.
Huge variations in speaking speed, intonation, and regional accents. These are things that are almost always smoothed out or standardized in a learning environment, but in the real world, They're everywhere.
So if your brain has been trained for years on perfect, carefully articulated English, and then suddenly you're talking to someone who says, "So what's up? Y'all gonna swing by the spot later for some grub?"
It's instant cognitive overload.
Right. You're trying to decode the slang spot grub. You're managing multiple contractions. What's y'all gonna... And you're dealing with a faster speaking pace, all at the same time.
And it's not that you don't know the individual words. The problem is how they're packaged, acoustically and syntactically. Your brain wastes precious energy trying to mentally uncontract the sounds before it can even get to the meaning.
This is where the AI's flexibility becomes such a powerful tool. A human teacher might find it hard to consistently role-play as a fast-talking, slang-heavy teenager from California.
Or they might just feel silly doing it.
Yeah.
But the AI can do it perfectly. It allows you to isolate and practice only casual English. You can target this specific weakness.
It's about the power of the specific request, right?
Yeah.
You're not just having a general conversation. You're telling the AI exactly what kind of linguistic performance you need.
Exactly. You're weaponizing the prompt.
So give it some examples of those prompts. What are people actually asking for?
The requests can be hyper-specific. You can say directly to the AI's voice mode, ChatGPT, talk to me in the style used by a 25-year-old American in everyday life.
That's specific.
Or you can spell out the linguistic features you want. Something like, respond to me using natural casual English. I want you to include heavy use of contractions, some common slang, and speak at a moderately fast pace.
So you are deliberately flooding your own brain with the exact kind of messy, real-world language that used to shut you down.
It's a kind of controlled immersion therapy. You're normalizing all those shortcuts, the sound changes, the idioms. You're training your ear for the unpredictable nature of real conversation.
It prepares you for authentic communication, not just textbook dialogues.
And this all comes together in the ultimate application, where you merge the intellectual depth from Section 1 with this real-world casual practice from Section 3. And that's actual situation role-playing.
This is where it all pays off.
This is the zenith of the approach. The AI can simulate real situation conversation practice, moving beyond generic scenarios into very specific high-stakes interactions that require you to dynamically switch your style of speaking.
And the sources gave a perfect high-stakes example that ties all three sections together. A doctor-guardian consultation situation.
That scenario is the perfect crucible. Imagine you're the learner, a doctor maybe from overseas. You need to explain the complex results of a new drug trial. That's the specialized vocabulary from Section 1.
But you're not talking to another doctor. You're talking to a worried, stressed-out parent.
Exactly. So you have to use clear, empathetic, and often casual language. It has to be full of contractions and tailored to a non-expert who's under a lot of emotional distress. That's the seal from Section 3.
Let's break down that code-switching challenge. You're basically holding two completely different languages in your head at the same time.
You are. The AI, playing the role of the worried parent, might start with something really casual and emotional, like, look, Doc, I gotta know, is he gonna be okay? We've been waiting for these results forever.
And you can't respond in that sterile, academic way.
No way. You can't say, we have observed significant sustained arterial hypertension post-procedure. The parent will just stare at you.
Right.
You have to code switch instantly. You have to say, we've seen some pretty serious high blood pressure since the procedure, which is why we've got him on a new regimen.
Let's look at that. You switched arterial hypertension to high blood pressure.
Yeah.
And you used the casual contractions we've done and got him.
You're applying your specialized knowledge within a realistic, time-sensitive, emotional context, all while maintaining this casual, empathetic tone.
And the AI, as the parent, can push back. You can add another layer of difficulty.
Oh, absolutely. The parent might say, a new regimen? What's that, another pill? I'm worried that stuff's going to mess with his head.
And that forces you to simplify even more, to use reassuring language.
This is where the AI is irreplaceable. It can play that anxious, skeptical parent perfectly. It gives you realistic, unpredictable responses that force you to think on your feet and communicate clearly under pressure.
You're practicing a set of communication skills that are absolutely critical for professional success, but you just can't learn them from a book.
That's the ultimate test. It's about taking all that polished, sophisticated knowledge you gained and being able to deploy it successfully in the messy reality of a high-stakes human conversation. The AI ensures you're not just a master of theory, but a master of actual communication. Hashtag outro, final synthesis and provocation.
This has been a really profound look at how AI is fundamentally changing the game for advanced learners. If we were to synthesize it all, it seems the AI is fulfilling three very distinct but also deeply interconnected roles.
That's right, they all work together. First, we established the AI as the specialized debate partner. It can sustain these incredibly deep domain-specific discussions on anything from philosophy to bioethics.
It effectively removes that cognitive ceiling that was always imposed by the limits of human expertise and availability. It's your 24/7 intellectual sparring partner.
Then second, we have the AI as the immediate microscopic language editor. It's just relentlessly focused on precision. It instantly corrects complex errors. It polishes your awkward phrases into professional native style expressions.
It makes sure that the sophistication of your language finally matches the sophistication of your thoughts.
And third, the AI acts as the real-world communication simulator. It gives you that crucial exposure to the chaos of casual English, the slang, the accents, through these hyper-customized role-playing scenarios.
And that bridges that huge, frustrating gap between mastering the textbook and actually communicating effectively with real people in high-stakes situations.
So when you put it all together, the conclusion from the sources is pretty powerful. They argue that for the advanced learner, AI has become a truly multifunctional and irreplaceable intellectual mentor.
Irreplaceable. That's a strong word.
It is, but it fits. It consistently provides that deep intellectual challenge while at the same time instantly correcting even the most subtle linguistic mistakes. This partnership just completely overcomes those cognitive and linguistic limits that have held people back for so long.
That barrier, that agonizing search for an intellectual peer,
Yeah.
for all practical purposes, it's just been dissolved.
It has.
And that rapid dissolution of this bottleneck.
Well, it brings us to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with.
Right. So if the core challenge for advanced learners has always been this lack of peers who can match their intellectual curiosity across all these complex fields,
And if AI has now filled that role with infinite knowledge, infinite availability, and perfect linguistic polish.
then intellectual depth is no longer limited by human availability. So the question is, what new ceilings will we as learners hit next, now that the constraint of conversation has been removed? And maybe more urgently, how much faster will the pace of global knowledge acquisition become, now that this critical bottleneck of dialogue has been so definitively broken? Something to think about as you start your next deep speaking session with your new tireless partner.